We can start, bro.
Yes, bro, please.
Good evening, namaste, namaskar to all VEVETOS family members across the globe. And on behalf of management, VEVETOS management, CEO, COH and VP, I welcome once more all of you for this wonderful Freedom 57 oration on topic vitiligo. Vitiligo, or the common colloquial word is, people call it as a leucoderma. Okay. So already a lot of topics we have discussed regarding say autoimmune disorders, and we have plenty of say resources to tackle the issues. These are one among the preventable diseases, but creates a very big say social implications, or kind of a social dogma where people will try to avoid themselves communicating or contacting others in the public. And to that extent, these kind of diseases, vitiligo or leucoderma, restricts the people and makes them psychologically break down, and make them say not a normal person. It causes depression also, and various other struggles a person comes under because of this problem called as vitiligo or leucoderma, commonly called as white leprosy, where patchy depigmentation happens, and very common among the Asians. Even if it is going to happen in the Western country peoples, Caucasians, or the say Americans or the Europeans, they are pale skin. Their skin color itself is with very less melanocytes. So there won't be any big issue there. But we Asians, particularly among the Asian countries, that too particularly in India, this plays a very major role, and gives a very strong, say, feel socially. When person comes out into the public, he might feel dejected, he might feel very much nervous, anxious about his skin patches. And this often strikes about how much is the incidence, the current data, current 2015 data, medical data shows somewhere around 1.2% of Indian population, 1.2 to 2% of Indian population are affected by vitiligo. That's huge. That's very huge. And say even if you are going to calculate it as 1.2% to 1.5%, and it will be somewhere around approximately around 2 crore people affected in India alone. That's a very huge volume, and most of the time it is spread across different parts of the body. I'll just tell you how it starts, how it say explode, how it makes the person depressed, or makes the person very much dejected, and what can be done to get rid of it. Okay. I just want to just convey a small message. In South India, few states have got a good control of COVID-19. Kerala has got a good control. Yesterday, there was only 5 remaining patients who were infected with quarantined with COVID-19. All others are almost got rid of it. Tamil Nadu is in the increasing mode, but various almost around 216 districts across the country have been under, say, shown under green zone. Where there is very less or no COVID-19 infected persons there. It's a good sign, but still, I repeatedly say we need a herd immunity. We need a good spread, but in the slow manner. It has to spread across the country in a very slow manner, so that there is no loss of life. Hopefully, in patchy manner it's spreading, but except in Mumbai, where it's very fast because of the population density. In Mumbai, population density is somewhere around 25,000 people per square kilometer, and that's a very, very dangerous say ratio, the density itself is a very big red flag for COVID-19 infection. So more, say lesser the population density, lesser the spread, and lesser the people number of people getting affected. And in the city situation, and considering the climate, very hot summer, it will be very tough for the people to cope up with the infection also. But still, we are in the positive side. India is on the positive side. In spite, we have about 50,000 people totally who got infected, but most people have got cured. Very less number of deaths when compared to the Western countries. So be safe. Make sure you doesn't get into venture around and get the infection. Stay safe and make yourself, make your family members safe, and get rid of. Let us all get rid of COVID-19 and win over it. Win over this war against COVID-19. Coming back to the topic, vitiligo or leucoderma. For the whole program, whole talk, I will be repeatedly saying only vitiligo rather than leucoderma. Leucoderma is a colloquial word, and our white leprosy is also a very say arrogant word. It's a old golden terminology. So let us all forget that. Only vitiligo. Let us all discuss about vitiligo. So vitiligo, it is a disease. I told you 1% to 2% of population is affected in India. That too, our skin color makes it more glorifying, more obvious, and this is a disease which is a pattern comes under hypopigmentation disorders in the human body. There are various other categories hypopigmentation. We call it as albinism, where the whole body will not have any melanocytes, and there won't be any melanin production at all. Okay, now you need to understand what is melanocytes and what is melanin. We have already discussed about the skin. There is two parts in the skin. First, the deeper part is the dermis, D-E-R-M-I-S, dermis, wherein the skin cells gets replicated or duplicated every 120 days or 150 days. The newer cell gets duplicated, it leaves out, and the older cell gets off into a dry state, or it dies off. And after the cell death, it becomes thick. It becomes say more protective. Non-conductive becomes non-conductive and comes up on the skin layer and protects us as a first line of defense against any germs, any foreign articles or foreign say bodies, any insects, any worms, whatever it may be. It protects the whole body. And when it dries off and comes outside, that's what we call it as epidermis, something outside dermis. And here comes the melanocytes. The melanocytes are the specific cells which are capable of producing melanin. Melanin is a pigmentation, is a color which these melanocytes produce for whole human beings, all human beings. Only thing, the variation is different. Even if you are going to be born in Europe or Western countries, where you're raised being a Caucasian, where there is very, very minimal melanocytes in your skins, in your dermis, which means you are wheat in color or you are white in color, and that's the reason people come to the Ecuador region, the tropical climate, tropical sunny region, to get them tanned, to get themselves safer from getting exposed to the bad radiations from the sunlight. And these melanocytes, what is the reason? What is the purpose of these melanocytes? Melanocytes, all human beings have the dermis and epidermis, and there are plenty of hair follicles. There is every hair follicle has a sebum secreting cells as well as the sweat secreting glands in the hair follicles, and this makes our skin more softer, more maintains the core body temperature through the sweat glands. by making evaporation. And this is the basic role of the skin. And skin basically acts as a first line of defense from any pathogens, any organisms, any foreign bodies, or any allergens, thereby saving our life every minute, every day, every year. Throughout our lifetime, and some damage to our human body. That is the sunlight. To protect our body from the sunlight, body has innately created a own mechanism of sunscreen. Something like, say, if you have a car, if you have a bus, you have a windshield. That's a glass. It's a plain glass. But most people, what they do, they put a sun film on it. For what? To make sure the sunlight does not enter into the vehicle, so that there is no heat inside the car or the vehicle. Like the same manner, the body films itself. The sun film, it films itself with the help of these melanocytes. These melanocytes are the cells which produces a pigment called melanin. Melanin, the intensity of this melanocytes in our skin makes us look more darker or more lighter, or the difference is only based on the number of melanocytes present in our skin. And everything is basically it is all through the gene, the chromosomes, which we got from our parents and the grandparents, as well as the great parents. So the situation is that everything is written in our gene. How much darker we should be, how much paler we should be, how much tanner we should be. The color is decided by the gene, by our parents. But still, we always try. We always try to become fairer. We try our best to apply all the creams, ointments, lotions, and all other things to make sure we look brighter and lighter. But the reality is, these melanocytes, please listen, these melanocytes are very, very important in preventing human beings from getting skin cancer. Hope you got it. So what does it do? It makes sure there is no UV radiations or infrared radiations entering our skin beyond epidermis. These melanocytes protects the skin all across from head to toe. Wherever there is a skin, it creates melanin, the pigments evenly across the whole body. And once we are born, our melanocytes are fixed. How many melanocytes are there? It's fixed. And based on the sunlight exposure, based on the UVB radiations, or the radiations from the sun, light from the sun, natural sunlight, our body synthesizes or produces its own melanins. Melanin is a pigment. These melanocytes, depending on the intensity of the sunlight, quantity of the sunlight exposure, it tries to prevent the skin or the whole body from getting any damage. And the prevention part is done by these pigments, which is basically brown in color. And even if at all, when you are exposed to sunlight for a higher, quantity of time, then there is a possibility your melanocytes will produce more and more melanin, so that it prevents from any radiations that's from the sunlight, and thereby preventing skin cancer. This is very important. And here comes the topic. We are so you hope you understood the concept of safeguarding our human body by the skin and by the melanocytes, which generates melanin, which are evenly spread across the whole body. Wherever you take, say even this part, 1 centimeter, 1 square centimeter, or 1 square millimeter, there are thousands and thousands of melanocytes. Each melanocytes produces this melanin depending on the sunlight exposure, natural light exposure. And it is basically to prevent our body from getting any damage from the radiations coming from the cosmic. from this space. As simple as that. Our body has designed the mechanism of self-protection is to the maximum. Each and every part of the body try to protect itself and make sure we live longer. Only thing, we need to give it some adequate space and time to make sure it corrects itself. Okay. So I told you about the melanocytes and the melanin, and the darkness is based on the exposure to the sunlight, natural sunlight. And this is all about. Okay, here comes the disorders of the hypopigmentation and hyperpigmentation. There are diseases wherein there will be hyperpigmentation, even in patchy manners or as a whole body, or in the sun-exposed areas. Let us forget about it. It is not under the purview of this topic. Now I'm going to talk about only the hypopigmentation, that is reduced pigmentation. In reduced pigmentation, it is of two basic varieties. Either it is the patchy along the face, along the trunk, along the inner part of thighs, or it can be on the foot and the toes. These are the two variants. And albinism is, say, let us not bother about it. It's very, very less percentage of depigmentation disorders. Less than 1% of this whole depigmentation disorders comes under albinism. And we don't usually see across our community this albinism. But the vitiligo is very, very common. I told you about 1.2% to 2% of our population is suffering from this vitiligo. Only thing, they will be covering themselves with the full hand shirts and the gloves, or with the pant and shoes. So we will not be able to visualize openly. And but when it is striking your face, around the lips, around the nostrils, then you can't do anything. Then it becomes a very stressful disorder for us. And I told you about the two. Albinism is whole body, no melanocytes there. Melanin is not generated or not produced by the melanocytes, and this is albinism. And major component, 99% probability is this vitiligo. There is some more entities. Pityriasis versicolor. There are small variants wherein there is a hypopigmentation is very, very less. We will not be able to see it strikingly. And those are all simple issues. Don't bother about it. Vitiligo is the most virulent type of this hypopigmentation. Okay, what is it? How is it occurring? Why is it occurring? It is basically, vitiligo is basically, I told you, it's an autoimmune disorder like rheumatoid arthritis, like mitral stenosis, valvular heart diseases, or something like bronchial asthma, or any other autoimmune disorder. Autoimmune, the body's own WBCs, or the immune system, killing or removing the own body tissues or the cells, or say whatever it is acting on our own body. This immune system acting on our own body. And this vitiligo is basically cell-mediated. Cell-mediated, I talked about B cells and the T cells. These two cells, the B cells are the acute phase, like something like soldiers, and the T cells are something like commanders who command from the top. So it's a cell-mediated immunity which overreacts to the melanocytes. It generates some liking towards these melanocytes, which are normal in every human body. But these cells, the B cells, goes and kills or removes the melanocytes. So there is no melanin production in that particular area. This is all whole about. This is an autoimmune disorder, as simple as that. And the reason, we don't know. And autoimmunity is basically because of the rogue immune system. And we can control it. I'll let you know how to do that. And second, I told you about the autoimmune disorder, vitiligo. And this is the only basic reason where it causes. And there are other reasons like phenylketonuria or other diseases, simple diseases, which can cause hypopigmentation, and that and all does not comes under this autoimmune category. But all put together, all the albinism, phenylketonuria, or the pityriasis rosae, or pityriasis versicolor, all these disorders marks only 1% of whole depigmentation disorders. The remaining 99% is vitiligo. Okay. Now we come and we'll see the clinical manifestations. How to identify vitiligo? What is that we will be seeing in the public? Most common symptoms are it exposes outside as a depigmented. It's a very well defined, very sharply margined, irregular, patchy white patches in the skin, particularly along the orifices, along the lips or the nose or around the eyes or anywhere, even around the anus also. So it usually around the orifices, initially it starts. This is one category. And the second category, along the extremities, along the fingers, along the wrist and the hands, and in the toes and the ankle, along the legs only. And all other part of the body is not affected initially. And most very common feature for vitiligo is that it is always symmetric. If you have a patch on your right side, you will have it on the left side, on your hand. If you have it on the right side of your face, you will have it on the left side also. It is usually symmetrical. If it is not symmetrical, then you need to think of some other diseases. And this is very peculiar to the vitiligo. And in the lower extremities also. So I told you along the orifices is the one category. Second category along the extremities, hands, fingers, legs and toes. And the third variant usually affects the face or the trunk or the inner part of the thighs or inner part of the armpits, these areas where these places are affected by the depigmentation and patchy, very well marked, but slowly progressive lesions of hypopigmented lesions will be seen in this vitiligo. How fast is this? Usually vitiligo starts around 20-30 years and it gradually increases as the age goes on. And once the autoimmune disorder is there, it's not going to stop suddenly. It's going to be there with you for lifelong, basically. So make sure once you are seeing it in the early stage, don't leave it till the end, till last minute, where it's very obvious to see. Even if you are seeing a very small 1 drop of or 1 mm of white patches in any part of your skin, head to toe, mark it. Very be sure there is an autoimmune activity started going on your body. And you be cautious whenever you take bath or whenever you are free. You go through your whole body, look for any small, very small 1 millimeter dia or 2 millimeter dia, small white patches in your human body. If at all it's there, be cautious, measure it, document it, keep it to yourself, and look it after 3 months, 6 months. It is very slow progressive. So it will take about 3 years to 5 years to show it off. It will not show it off within a day or two. It will take time. It will gradually start killing the melanocytes, or it will not allow the melanocytes to produce melanin. Thereby, it will lose its coloration on that part of the skin. And next is the subsequent melanocytes. Subsequent, it gradually spreads from center. And this manner, it affects in a patchy manner. It does not affect in starting from index finger, all fingers together. No. It will patch manner, and the patches connect together to form a big patches. This is the model of vitiligo. And there won't be any sensory loss. Very important. People usually have a social dogma, social fear that person with vitiligo, it can be contagious. No, it is not contagious. If a person is having a vitiligo and if he's going to hug his children, hug his family members or touch, nothing is going to happen. It is not contagious disease. It is an autoimmune, self-inflicted disease happening for the self only. It will not communicate from one person to another. So this is very crucial. So even if your family member is having a vitiligo, don't bother. Don't be comfortable. Be as a regular show your love and affection. No question at all. There shouldn't be any difference at all. And the sensation part, I told you about the how it's not contagious, but sensation part. When the patch is there, even if you're going to touch it or with the very fine needles or fine filaments, the sensations are never disturbed. The whole body, if it is vitiligo, sensations are not disturbed at all. And this makes it is a very good disease. If at all, if you have a sensory loss in the patches, then it becomes a different entity where there is a possibility you get injuring himself or having a hot, boils or injuries because of the higher temperatures and because of loss of sensation. And it's a good part of vitiligo is that the sensation is not at all affected. 100% sensation will be there, and it does not causes any defect in the movements also. If it is affecting the hand, there is no sensory deficit issues. There is no weakness issues. Everything else is normal. Only the skin melanocytes are stopped from activity, or killed or removed by the beta cells, the cell-mediated immunity. And this is all the basic features of vitiligo and how to go about. This is a kind of a disease that can be prevented. How to prevent it? Say, when you have started seeing first thing, if your parents have either mother or father or grandparents on both sides, maternal grandfather or paternal grandfather, father, if you see them with the vitiligo, there is 25% chance that you will get vitiligo. So be cautious, be aware about this, and make sure if at all your parents or grandparents are having vitiligo and it would have started a bit in the later stages, it may not have started in the earlier stage, not in 10 years and 15 years. As the age grows, the autoimmunity sets in and gradually it will start killing the melanocytes. Once you have identified it, be very careful. Start the treatment part, start the management part so that it does not spread, it does not expand from its side. And this is very, very crucial. First thing, identification. Second, I told you about the sensations, I told you about the other things. And there won't be any, deformities or nothing. The activities and functions will be perfect for the relevant human. There won't be any issue at all. What next? How to prevent it? Once you have started, visualize it. Once you have recognized it as a vitiligo, it is slowly spreading in your skin. It can be in your legs, it can be in your finger gaps, it can be around the mouth, lips, or around the nose, anywhere. So if at all you have seen, or if your partner have identified it and told you there is a small white patch, you be very cautious from that minute, because the big autoimmune activity is happening in your system. So you need to stop it. You need to hold it. You have to put a full stop to it, or else it will spread. Is there any medicine? As of now, there is no medicines available, in the allopathy, generally. But there are cosmetic treatments wherein, they make the pigmentation along these patches to mask it. That is of no use. So what is the core problem? It is autoimmune disorder. It is our responsibility to control the autoimmune disorder, make sure our WBC cells are very well within the normal limits, so that the person does not get vitiligo or the depigmentation further. And the next, how to stop it or how to prevent it. Once you have started identified it, start on Oncoban or Oncoban O2. Very, very crucial. The autoimmune disorder I told you is basically the rogue immune system. And Oncoban as well as Oncoban O2 make sure it controls the rogue, puts the harness to the rogue WBCs or the rogue immune system. Within about 2 to 3 weeks time, you can see the difference of how it controls. Very, very under control. Brings it very well under control. But you need to take it for quite a long period of time. The purpose is that it is not a medicine. It is a herbal supplement. Sorry, it is a food supplement. Plenty of herbs we have, but these herbs goes to the roots. Right? Creates a situation where the autoimmune disorder is neutralized and the melanocyte starts repigmentation slowly and gradually. This is very, very, very important. And another tip, usually I can't document it here, but still there are testimonies. There are leaders who have come and told me that, sir, we have applied Oncoban 1 drop on the patches and it has got cleared off. And this is a testimony, though we don't have a clinical trial results, but there are hundreds of testimonies available wherein the Oncoban as well as Oncoban O2 has come as like say safeguarding guard to prevent this vitiligo from making any havoc. So this is very important. What else? What are the other important things? Try to restrict your protein and particularly non-vegetarian protein. If you're going to take non-veg protein, particularly fish and all other white meat, there is a possibility it can increase or aggravate the autoimmune disorder in your human body, and that in turn will increase the patch's size and the shape. Grossly, it will just spread. So try to restrict your protein intake and try to restrict the very high sweets, say sweet items. This is the two very important thing you need to follow. Start taking Oncoban, and another important thing is that mark that patches if it is on your skin, face, or in the lips, or in the hands, wherever it may be. Mask it with a sunscreen lotion. Sunlight exposure in that area might cause damage to your skin. I told you melanocytes are the cells which produces melanin, and this melanin forms a thin film across the whole body to protect ourselves from the sunlight radiations. So when there is a patch, when there is no melanocytes there, or when there is no melanin there, the sunlight, when it is piercing, that can easily cause damage to the cells inside it, beneath the dermis, and thereby causing even cancerous changes is a possibility. So these are very, very important points you need to take home and start following it. And if at all you are getting exposed to sunlight for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just apply a cloth over it or apply a sunscreen lotion, and thereby you can prevent it from spreading, as well as the whole body requires proper immunity. The immune system has to be medieval. It shouldn't be very high, it shouldn't be very low to maintain a proper immune balance, and that is given by Oncoban or Oncoban O2. And I told you about the restricted sunlight exposure as well as restricted protein intake, and thereby you can revert gradually, slowly to the normalcy. And let us create a world which doesn't have vitiligo, which doesn't have this social dogma or social pressure out of this, so that the person who is having a vitiligo can openly go around the world with his t-shirts and his shorts, so that there is no issue of depigmentation disorder in his skin. So let us create a vitiligo-free world. Take up the challenge. Use these ideas. Use these. Just follow these advices. Make sure for yourself, for your friends, or for your anyone who is within your reach, help them out. Ask them. Even I told you about the topical application of Oncoban overnight that need to be done in the evenings, and you can help them to get rid of such issue as well as prevent any person from getting a vitiligo patches or vitiligo derma patches. Jai Hind, Jai VEVETOS, all the best. Namaskar.